Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the MI podcast. So, our discussion today is about influencer content. So, as marketers, we kind of have to learn a lot from influencers because these are the people who have captured an audience and are the ones who are creating that kind of content that people are going back to. So, as marketers, let's be honest, we are content creators or content marketers to be more specific. So our main job is becoming to create content, and from that how do you get traffic to your website, your apps, your sites, as well as maybe in b2b's to generate leads. So it's very important to kind of analyze what the content creators are doing, what we can learn from them, what to do, what not to do, and how do you kind of go about in this whole content creation game. Awesome. So I'm joined by someone who has come earlier on this podcast. So hi Nandini, how are you?
Hey Nikhil, so nice to be back on this podcast. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm also doing great. So I think our earlier podcast had got a quite a good response, and I think it was the first podcast you did, and you were very confident and had made some great points. So yeah, definitely there's like upon public demand, maybe you can say that you're back, and we are doing one this amazing episode. So I think to the audience, I think you can share like you from that time you were, I think, freelancing at that time, and now you joined a new company a few months back.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, I think I had already done my first job with Dentsu. That was for 7 months. Now I'm working at Lenskart as a senior social media executive, looking at their Instagram and WhatsApp channels. So yeah, it's been a great journey from freelance to again full time corporate job. And there's so much to learn with Lenskart because it's a huge brand. So there are like small nuances which we really need to be careful about. Plus, it's so
Hmm.
dynamic that it teaches me a lot of things here and there. I hope that I can contribute, to this topic as well today.
That's right. One interesting thing with the audience, if you could share, Nandini, about like how do you get the particular opportunity? It's also interesting, like getting in a really use like a unicorn company in a marketing position. So, little bit of that, if you could share.
Sure. I think one thing that just really helped me is LinkedIn. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think one thing that has really helped me is LinkedIn for sure. I was very particular since college that I want to create my content on LinkedIn because as marketers, I feel we really need to be present. So LinkedIn was one thing that has helped me. So there were a few connections that I had, and they had posted that Lenskart was looking for they had open positions. So I had applied through one of that, and surprisingly or unsurprisingly, it was my when I applied for the first time, it was an email thread, and then the second time when I replied on the same email thread with an updated CV and saying that I want to look for a role at
Hmm.
Lenskart, and that's how it really happened. So yeah.
That's right. But yeah, was there something that you can given as an advice that you tried, like it was a second attempt, or you approached it in this way, or a particular decision maker, or something like that? Like, what is the takeaway for a aspiring person to get into a big company?
See, honestly, I feel connections are very important. Having a good network is extremely important. Try to connect with good people on LinkedIn. Try to connect with resourceful people on LinkedIn, and not just with anything hollow, but something solid. Have
Hmm.
something that's very brand specific for the brand custodian to actually look at and feel that okay, yeah, this person could actually contribute to the organization. I feel that's really
Hmm.
important. And I think my ways of cold emailing had also changed. Earlier it was
Hmm.
a lot about me, but then it has become more about what I can be for the organization and how I would bring a change and how I feel there's a synergy. So I feel
Hmm.
that in cold emailing is really important, which I probably hit the next time.
That's right. Yeah, so it's a great thing to learn. So definitely, Nandini is very authentic when we look at your content on, and there's a lot of effort that goes into it in the details. So definitely, if somebody like even if you message someone on LinkedIn, they look up your profile, they anyway 10x times their interest increases in interacting with you. So that is something definitely people can learn from and building their profile. And obviously, I think you did made the efforts of emailing the decision makers and then following up and all that kind
Yeah.
of process, because we have to do that. Like even if you are any, like even in an art form, you are in any creative profession, there's a struggle of obviously improving your art, but then the marketing yourself bit is a struggle. The successful ones actually master that, so that is something we should do.
Yeah, fair.
Awesome, awesome. So, Nandini will be discussing about influencer content, like what we can kind of learn from them, and what is the kind of a takeaway for marketers. So we'll start off with the authenticity, like what I told you about what is there in your content. So you're the best person to give us advice on that. So, um, what is the importance of it? What is it, and like why does it lead to people gravitating towards your content?
I mean, I wouldn't want to say gravitating towards just my content, but I
Hmm.
personally feel, and I think this relates back. This relates back to the first podcast that I did with you about humanizing your brand. I still feel authenticity, influencer content, having that human connection is very important for any person. I mean, I think how influencers really got in the light was that people stopped believing in companies, right? Because you could not
Hmm.
imagine a person being behind it. And then there
Hmm.
came the concept of influencers. Of course, there were celebs in place always, but influencers had a different place because you could actually relate with that person. That life was something that you felt okay was a little bit like mine. There was relatability, there was attainability. So that really kind of clicked when it came to influencer marketing in the beginning. I feel authenticity is extremely important because now people have started developing that sense of having a filter. If this is
Hmm.
true or not true. Maybe in the beginning, making people fools were easier, but now
Hmm.
we've consumed so much content that we know that okay, this is something which is sounding authentic to me or which is not. So showing your
Hmm.
true self is very tough. That makes you
Hmm.
vulnerable, but that also makes you really authentic. So I feel that
That's
is
right.
very important to resonate with audience at this age, especially when there's a content overload. Everybody is doing all things happy. Nobody is showing their true self. So when you show your true self, you actually stand out.
That's right. Like, so as influencers, I think a spirituality aspect also of you is there understanding yourself. What is it in you, your journey, and then putting it in a, like a voice of your own when it's coming out on social media. So, because as marketers also, what happens most of the time, we do a competitor analysis, we review content of maybe a direct competitor of some person in the industry who's the benchmark, and then we are kind of just making rehash versions of that content, and especially that's a lot in B2B that happens. So
Yeah.
when you kind of separate yourself from that and then find out like about yourself, or if it's about a company, unique aspects about it, when you get deeper into it, you have conversations with the stakeholders in the company, external stakeholders, your clients, then kind of things come out. So that is the actually secret is more effort when creating that content, when you are looking at making it more authentic.
I agree. I think you really need to know yourself, and I feel in my content also over the last 1 year or something, it has started reflecting. I personally feel so because I'm
Hmm.
much closer to myself than I ever was before. So
Hmm.
it really strikes a chord. I feel there because now I know myself more and I know what I really want to talk about.
That's right. Also, do you think, Nandini, like where the mindset is that you don't have expectations? Like it's a human thing to have an expectation when you put in that content. Like even when you're like being inauthentic, you're hiding things, or saying certain small lies and all. It is with that fear, right? Like if I put out a certain of myself, people will not accept it. So I think, do you think that is also a part of it?
See, I feel that you can't be 100% authentic on social media because you feel like
Hmm.
it's not a safe space.
Yeah.
Because, of course, there are different people, different opinions, so you fear that backlash for sure. But I
Hmm.
feel the max authenticity, which comes in terms of, your privacy, I
Hmm.
feel that is what everybody's putting out. Even I am putting out that. Of course, not every aspect of my life is there on my LinkedIn,
Hmm.
but I feel there's a max that I could do there.
That's right. Yeah, my angle was like because somewhere there are a lot of people, I would say a majority, where there's too much of inhibition. So when
Hmm.
like they're sharing, there is overthinking all the time.
Yeah,
So for them, it's like to get into a mindset of more fearlessness
I agree.
and putting out more things. It's like an exercise. So once they
I
think
agree.
like that, then they kind of, it's like even coming on a podcast, like they will, maybe people who have not done it earlier, they'll be like, what I'll say, what I'll be perceived as, and all those things. So if you are more freer, then with the freedom, a certain amount of responsibility also you have to take,
I
and
agree.
that comes kind of naturally. But I said that's a process. Like I think even it's difficult from day one to be really authentic.
Yeah,
It's a period of time. It's like those people who are more evolved will find it more easier to be than more authentic. So it's a
yeah.
kind of a
I agree.
process
It's a
that you have.
process. It's definitely a process. It cannot happen in one day, but you need to keep hitting that publish button to get there.
That's right. That's right. So you have to keep. It's something that you have to keep doing as a
Yeah,
thing. Then it's like a discussion point, like a process or technique. It's more of your own evolution also that is a part of that.
I agree. Yeah.
Awesome. So Nandini, let's talk about some interesting, if you could talk influencer brand partnerships, and we'll a little bit analyze them. Like what you found, it was something pushing the envelope or really creative, and you have also learned a lot from that.
Okay. I feel one brand that really comes to my mind when we talk about influencer brand partnerships is Nika. I feel they have, targeted starting from nano, micro, macro to like mega influencers to actually be a part of their entire social media game, marketing, whatever you want to call it. Because I feel they've cracked that, starting from nano to mega, they have different roles to play. And they're utilizing all of this really well. For example, nano and micro have a great impact in their own smaller communities and also are very important to have that regional effect plus to gain that authenticity. And mega, of course, are very important for amplification and brand awareness at a mass space.
Hmm.
So I feel they have really cracked it starting from small to big. And I mean, there are other brands. For example, when I talk of Lenskart, also there are a few influencer brand partnerships which are my favorite. For example,
Hmm.
we've done a few collabs with Anish Bhagat, and I really love his content because that brings about a lot of love, warmth, which is missing on social media, which we are not able to put out on a daily basis. Being a brand, we have different things that we want to do, but Anish is one creator that I really love, and I love his collaborations with Lenskart because they're very heart touching and relatable, and they're like really shareable also. So I think those kind of things really work well in terms of brand influencer partnerships.
That's right. Nandini, you might have observed also these actual working professionals. They are getting a lot into the Instagram game, their own personal brand. So they are talking about. So there are certain professions like, for example, you're a doctor or a lawyer, where you or I think advocate or something like they're not allowed to advertise. So where earlier it was like their website they used to do a lot of say SEO for it. Now it's like their own video content that is in the form of short videos and on Instagram, and they kind of building. So some of them become very popular. So someone in the same domain and a brand can have a campaign with them, so it looks more authentic because that person is already maybe an established professional there or has gained a lot of credibility, and basically for the brand the TG is the same.
No, I agree. I mean, I think there was this one podcast that I was listening. उसमें Tanmay Bhatt really said that content creation is something that's not just one profession. I mean, you could be anything and you could still be a content creator. So I think
Yeah.
that is being very valid. That is very valid here. For example, there is Dr. Tanya, also called Dr. Cutress. She is
Hmm.
a doctor, but she's a professional content creator on Instagram. She has about 1.5 million followers. And I recently saw that she did a reel in collab with L'Oreal Paris. So, there's more authenticity when it comes to these people because they are established professionals in a particular
Hmm.
industry and they have that kind of followership. So, people would listen more because of their authenticity again. So, yeah,
That's
I
right.
feel that's one
Because they are
thing.
in that profession, and it's like if a there is a cosmetic brand, and then you have a person, a
Yeah,
dermatologist or something, who's talking about it,
yeah,
or shampoo or something that has a more of
yeah,
a weightage. Now, compared to in an advertisement, you put an actor with the doctor's
yeah,
jacket or something, you'll have a genuine. This person is a known specialist. Is not like acting it out, and then is talking about it. So yeah, it didn't generally. But within that, Nandini, what do you feel if, as a marketer, you are pulling off a campaign with such a working professional? What would you still pay attention to?
I think I would still pay attention to not spoiling the image. I mean, not spoiling the image of the content creator as well as the brand there. I want to be very true to what the content creator really talks about. For example, I don't want them to divert because that's like a betrayal for their audience also, and it's not going to do any good to my brand
Hmm.
either. So I think being true to what they are saying is very, very relevant in terms of any brand influencer relationship. Otherwise,
Hmm.
there's no sense because their TG really connects with that content that they put. So if you're
Hmm.
not, touching base with the same content, it's not going to be effective.
That's right. Like you can't treat them like you'll have. I was seeing one particular campaign. I'll not name anyone where that particular working professional was almost made like an actor and in a skit. And that person, since he couldn't act that well, it was a little bit. It was a challenging role. It didn't look good, and then
Yeah.
hit home. So it was not used kind of properly. And then since people are not connecting, since person could act that well, that created the disconnect, and then you are not like, obviously you don't get the engagement then. So yeah, I mean, that's a, you have to kind of still, marketer is important in this process to identify and have a proper campaign with such kind of a content creator.
Correct. I think a filtration process also needs to be set with the influencer. It's also their responsibility to understand what they should promote and what they should not promote because in the long run, it's going to hinder their own authenticity and their reputation.
That's awesome. So Nandini, we'll talk about in recent times now. Have you seen any kind of content formats which these creators are using and which you found, yeah, this was interesting? It could be some kind of a show they have, or a different kind of a vlog, or a way they showcase, their views on something. Like it was kind of different, and you felt like, yeah, this is something we can learn from.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel one thing that's getting us really close to these people are these random AMA sessions that these people are doing on their stories. On
Hmm.
Instagram, there's this sticker that says, Ask me anything. And there are
Hmm.
actually people who are responding to messages. Just like,
Hmm.
if you're having a bad day, what do you think I should do? What do you do? Or, just one advice if you have for somebody, or just tell me a little about your first gig, or just any suggestion that you would have for a content
Hmm.
creator who's just beginning. So I feel AMAs are something like very authentic and very real because it's actually that the person is answering it. So
Hmm.
be it in the form of video, be it in the form of a text, but AMAs I feel have been really helpful in terms of captivating their followers and making them a loyal follower of yours. That is one.
That's right.
I think other than that, one thing that is becoming like a norm right now is community meetups, event meetups, because they really
Hmm.
spark that stardom, and they've like met the person, so it becomes even more. So I
Hmm.
feel meetups have become very good of a thing to build a community. Even
Hmm.
AMAs I feel are doing
Hmm.
really good.
Hmm.
And I think brand collabs are also something that are an effective strategy in terms of content creation here because you need to
Hmm.
have strategic brand collabs to also captivate your followers.
That's right. That's right. Even the podcast I was noticing. So, like when the brands are starting their own podcast, they will see, there which is the TG, and if there is a popular creator in that, then that person can be the host of the podcast.
Yeah.
So that is something where they are kind of exploring that, and that is, I mean, because of the podcast, the thing is that obviously an interesting podcast will have a lot of watchers, so that is also more ad friendly for the platforms.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we are
Watch are
noticing.
very relevant right now as a metric.
That's right. On YouTube, you must be seeing how much they are promoting podcasts. Like you have a separate, like a section for it. If you have YouTube Music, then you click, you can go directly. If you click on the podcast section, you go directly. So if you're hearing something on YouTube in podcast space, you can like continue that, and it'll show you just specifically the podcasts that you are viewing, or some new ones and all. So yeah, those are kind of interesting and have to be explored a lot. Awesome. Nandini, we can kind of cover about communities. Like they are the masters of it, right? Like you have content creators, is nothing without having, a loyal follower. So how do you like, um, let's say now new things in recent times, what are the different kind of community marketing? We have covered basic ones like meetups are there, or you could have a Q&A session, or you could randomly, some brand advocates, you are directly messaging them, you could meet them personally and all that. But any other things, interesting things you see in this?
I think I would want to shed a little light in terms of roots of social media here. For example,
Hmm.
if you remember, it started like a big thing started when Facebook, started initially, and was like the whole purpose was to connect college mates, right? That was like a
Hmm.
community thing to
Yeah.
connect people who are in the same college. That's what they did, right? But then it got a little too monetized, and now I feel there comes back an age where community is going to be the focus, because
Hmm.
of course we've had too much of being salesy, being product led and stuff like that. So I feel community is definitely the future. Plus I think one more safe thing here is that every platform otherwise is, it's not yours. Otherwise I feel community is one thing that will be there for you. If even if the platform collapses, you can find some other way. There are
Hmm.
millions of ways that people are connecting right now, but having that core community really gets you going in terms of be it monetizing or be it just being loyal there. So I feel community is extremely important. And I think one person that I follow is Ankita Chavla. She,
Hmm.
aka Hustle Rani. So she is a marketer and she freelances. I think with a lot of brands like Google and Spotify and stuff. So she is doing extremely good in terms of community building. So she started by just like posting about her life, social media in general, talking a little about it, creating trending reels and stuff. But then she got more into how her life is, and just showing off cute things in her room. She loves to skate, so things around skating,
Hmm.
creating content around that. So she started gaining like a true followership, not just because of
Hmm.
what gyan she's giving, but also that kind of real person that she's portraying. I mean, of course she
Hmm.
is, but she's also showing that off, which is very important.
Hmm.
And now she has like an entire basically
Hmm.
she used to call her coffee in the morning called wake up juice, and धीरे धीरे वो
That's right.
इतना popular हो गया that it's actually called wake up juice club. And millions, like a lot of people are actually posting their own morning things as wake up juice, tagging her, and now it's like an entire club, and she's selling merch of that.
That's right.
Imagine. So
That's it.
monetizing from her daily life to this, and now she's also having brand collabs with brands that are making cups, that are selling cutlery, which is, I mean, so interesting and so intriguing that just from a small thing, she's actually like you know earning money from it. So I
That's
think
it.
that's a great example, and her
Nandini,
community.
this is a interesting thing. Like, so if for a discussion where um, you start off, many people in that like a domain expert, or you have a very specific genre, your travel or fashion, and then as a activity, like different facets of your personality you disclose, so that also builds a community. Because like when we chat with people also, how they come closer is like there is something common hobby, or they've felt something common towards a certain thing, like an experience or something which has been common. So when you discuss these things, or you put it out like as a content creator, there could be a strategy, could be not, depends on a lot of things. But this is also a way that the community that you build, like it kind of there's more connection in that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, just imagine that they connected on coffee, they
Mm,
connected on getting up and consuming a beverage. And now
mm,
it's like an entire merged thing where she's selling cups, she's selling caps, she's selling tote bags.
mm,
So that's quite amazing, right? Plus, she also does a lot of these content creation, Instagram, social media boot camps and stuff. So of
mm,
course that's a separate thing, but that's also monetizing on your community. So communities, I feel, are definitely the future. Plus, that's your real asset. Just having followers. Imagine one day if something happens to Instagram and it shuts. I mean, of
mm.
course, my role would
Yeah,
end,
and
but
recently there was an outage and all that, so it's not
yeah,
like that's the thing in that you should not be like totally all your content on one platform. It shouldn't mean that you have all your strength in one platform. Maybe
yeah,
there have to be more than that. Like if you are totally into content creation,
yeah.
then it's kind of you have to have multiple platforms where there's a loyal following and communities. And today we have these options, no, of channels and all those kind of things.
Yeah, no, no, I agree. And I think talking of distribution here, I think one person that I really appreciate right now is Nikhil Kamath. I have
Hmm.
been his podcast fan, and it's almost on my everyday to do to listen to his podcast for like 30 minutes. But
Hmm.
just imagine that how did he start, and now he's also expanding his distribution with podcast, and it's super amazing how everybody is really diversifying into this.
That's right. What would you feel like Nikhil Kamath, having the podcast and investing this time and energy? And now I even recently saw there was one a different kind of where he is going out in a car with some of his employees and he exploring the city and different kind of content. So like really going all out as a content creator. Like for you, someone like him, what do you feel are the you know s- reasons or the major factors that he's doing this?
I think one thing that I've always noticed is he's always trying to target that 20-year-olds, young entrepreneurs. So I'm sure that he has some interest there because I can clearly understand that that's his target audience, because a lot of his questions are also directed like that. What would you say to a 20-year-old young
Hmm.
girl who's in Bangalore starting off her own
Yeah.
business and stuff? So I'm definitely sure that it's around that years of people who have just started their business. I'm sure he's probably looking from an investment POV also.
Also
Plus, I
like his product,
think,
like the zero dara, it's like
yeah,
investment. So if you see the
yeah,
most active 20 to 30-year-olds are the most active on
yeah,
this particular investment mutual funds and all those other stocks
yeah,
apps that are there.
yeah.
So
Right
because
now
the
they're,
people a bit elder than that, they are still like not really on the bandwagon of these apps. Like these ones these guys are driving it. So yeah, that is also
yeah,
all these things,
that's
they are
really good
all connected,
targeting.
interrelated.
That's really good targeting.
Awesome. Nandini, we can discuss some examples that you have seen, like like some great content, and that has maybe led you to even think that okay, I can also execute a campaign like that, or something like I note down. Okay, this is something which is a different way it struck a chord with the audience.
Yeah, I think it's not about one campaign. I largely like to see a pattern and then I would like to follow. For example, Tanmay Bhatt is one of the many creators that I really like and appreciate. I mean, my LinkedIn could also be officially called like his fan page because a lot of my posts have also talked about him. But I feel Tanmay Bhatt really is in this for a long time. I mean, he was in this when a lot of people were not in this. So he knows what he's talking about, and not just that. I feel he really knows about the psychology that goes behind social media. That really goes in the psyche of minds, why they are clicking on a certain thing, what would they want to see, and he really kind of catches that pattern, and he's then onto it. So it's all calculated, but I really like his sense of humor also, which brings authenticity and strikes a chord with anybody. It's very raw also, it's relatable also. And I love how his distribution is also building, starting from writing for AIB to then having his own channel, now also his own production company. So it's I really like how his journey has been. Other than
That's
that,
it.
I told
I'll
Anish.
also come in here. Then you
Yeah,
can come with another content
yeah, yeah.
creator. So I would like to talk about Nas Daily. So
Oh,
Nas Daily is, I mean, obviously one of the biggest content creators. So I feel one thing is that the universal themes that he picks out. So the content, it's like when a Hollywood movies makes a big project movie, when you have like the Marvel, it is like universal things. Like everybody would something you take away from it wherever it's on a human level, everybody connects to it. So those kind of themes he takes. So that is something to learn from, because say you are marketing like internationally, global level company, that is something where a universal themes, how you can kind of use that. And secondly, I think the purpose driven, like a lot of his content, there is a specific purpose that he is solving. It could be like about sustainability or water conversation conservation. So yeah, those are things. So when there is a good positive purpose to it, that also attracts me, especially the newer generation, which is
sure. I
kind
was going
of
to say,
very well educated, and kind of they want to see that in their people, and all more socially responsible
I agree.
people, and you get impressed more with them compared to like materialistic things, like. So
Yeah.
that is where I think we all can learn from him. Obviously, when we talk about these influencers, like obviously you might not directly relate with it with the scale of the content, but you have to look at what is a takeaway for me when I'm executing. So these were like a couple of takeaways on my end.
No, right. And I think for people watching, if you want to see Tanmay and Nas daily together, you should probably watch Nikhil's podcast. They are
The
all in it together. I think it is
uh,
what does it take to
तो
build
निखिल
influence?
कामत वाला
Yeah, I'm
मेरे
sorry,
अभी
I'm
इतनी नहीं.
confusing everywhere.
That's right.
But I really
No,
like that
hopefully,
podcast.
like they will come on mine also, but that's a long way off. But like on you are referring to the WTF, what is
Yeah,
content or
yeah.
something, that episode, right? Yeah.
What does it take to build influence? I think that's called with Ranveer Labadia and Prajakta Kohli, Naz Daily, and Tanmay Bhatt. That's a
Yeah,
very
sure.
nice.
They all were there, so you guys have to, check that out where you are emerging. There's a lot of great nuggets, valuable nuggets in that.
Yeah, yeah. Quickly,
Awesome.
I would like take the names of a few more content creators that I really like. I think one is the Indian Idiot. I'm sure a lot of people who are seeing this would follow him also. And it's such a relatable page. And I think one thing that really strikes the chord with me here is that he does a lot of brand collabs. But it's so smooth that you'll just keep swiping the carousel, or you go to the end of the reel and then you realize, oh, it's an ad. And I think that's
Mm.
the best kind of ads that there ever can be, when the person is
Mm.
not even realizing it's an ad. And his content is
Mm.
so much like that. I really like how he plugs in the ads. Of course, he puts a lot of relatable things and everything that matters to, say, a person like me, a person in my age. But his placement of ads is my favorite.
That's it. As a content, I mean, that's a very good quality to have, where you can merge your content seamlessly within, the ad basically content that is there, or branded content. So yeah, those ones would, like, for example, even like Dhruv Rati, how he does it, like he'll just maybe have maybe 1 minute of that ad content, but it is like a really good segue that happens into
Yeah,
that
correct.
content that is there. Like in many cases, you must have seen a lot of these influencers in entertainment is like very disruptive. They'll just put something in between, and then um, it like you kind of it disrupts your viewing experience basically. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, the any other one, Nandini?
I think I already mentioned Anish. I had mentioned
Yeah.
Nikhil also.
Hmm.
There's this one. There are actually two people that I really like on LinkedIn also. I'm not going into the mainstream content creators, but I really appreciate them. One is Sarthak.
Hmm.
He works as a copywriter, and another is Vedehi, who is also a freelance copywriter. I think she's into content. She, I think, used to work with Dunzo, and Sarthak used to work with Dentsu before. But both of these, they are like so well into copywriting, and they do not stop showing their copywriting skills on their LinkedIn posts. They're very regular on LinkedIn, and you can actually seek inspiration from them in terms of how they're using their passion as well as profession to bring about something really nice on LinkedIn. For example, Vedri writes these one liners which are extremely nice and hilarious in terms of copy. And Sarthak also does a lot of relatable, very raw content, and I personally really like both of their content. So these are two offbeat content creators that I wanted to mention from LinkedIn.
That's right. So I like to mention, Gary V. Gary V. I think everybody knows him. He's been like since the dot com in 2000s. He's someone who is invested in now, which are like major household name companies. Like for example, he's even an investor in Facebook, and also he's built a business of basically like marketing based. I mean, somebody who can really drive your content. He obviously charges a bomb, like he's consulting and all. So if you see, he's like a pioneer in this whole content creation and influencer and all this
Yeah.
business that is there. So firstly, what he advocates, and what we can learn from is the importance of giving value first. As a content creator, when we see everyone around, like earlier it was with the movie stars, like people used to just see the glamour and be attracted and want to try your hand at acting. Now it is now with the content creation game, like you want to aspire, but it is about you know giving a lot of time and giving the value to a particular audience. Like keep, even if
Yeah.
you are into entertainment, how
Yeah.
do you gonna get better skits or music or dance and all that. And as a domain experts, like what are the things that you have learned from trends or news and everything, and keep giving value, and then later look at how automatically monetize. Like even in my case, like when I started off, I might even now might not have that much reach, but within in my niche now people kind of know me and they approach me for podcasts and that kind of thing. So it's kind of thing gradual. It's like you are rewarded directly, the universe rewards you.
I agree. I agree.
And within your content, another thing is he always talks about the long term vision, the long game that you have to play. So um, his content is viewed by a lot of these entrepreneurs and youngsters who want to kind of get into some kind of a digital business. So very nuanced content within that. How do you create that long term? And he's someone who is come from a humble background, so people, there is more relatability. So like I'll give you an example why that appeal with Shahrukh is there so much, because of somebody who has come from a non filmy background and made it really big. That is also adds to that charm. So the same thing
Yeah.
with, in this case, Gary Vee. So what he says, it has more weightage. So yeah, this is something we can kind of learn from them then. Awesome. So, Nandini, let's take some questions from the audience. So I basically floated it to followers of the podcast and also people who had come earlier on the podcast. So there were some questions with respect to the topic. We can just answer a little bit whatever knowledge we have on them.
Sure.
So firstly, we'll talk about the parasocial relationships. What is it? What is your opinion on it, and how do you kind of like influencers' point of view and also the followers' point of view? If you could talk
Yeah.
about that.
Right. So, I mean, just for clarity for everybody, parasocial relationships are like one sided kind of relationship where one person knows about your existence, invest in their time, energy in you, but the other person doesn't really know about the existence and, is not aware. So, I think now over time, these parasocial relationships have a decreased gap. I think earlier they used to be with celebs. Now it's with influencers, content creators, and like smaller communities now. I think पहले ऐसा होता था that in celebs, of course, they're extremely massive, and we
Hmm.
would like give us like give everything of ours to like just like look at them and just
Like
admire
you have
them.
to keep them on a pedestal, basically.
Correct, correct.
Yeah,
I think right
pedestalize them.
now also that is a pedestal, but it's more of attainability, aspiration, and inspiration
Hmm.
there. So I feel that
Yeah.
parasocial gap is decreasing with influencers and content creators, because now also there are communities and you actually stand chances to meet them. People like those
Hmm.
people are also more invested in meeting
That's like
people.
there are fan clubs also for these guys. Like they run fan clubs, so like so
Hmm.
that there is more connect with them and they stay
Yeah,
more engaged. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I feel that's
that's the thing.
decreasing now. That's my
That's the
take.
thing. That's and I think like if you talk about fan clubs and all, this will be surprising to people from an earlier generation because there was more loyalty then. Now
Yeah,
for the movie stars and all, also there's not that much loyalty,
that
so they
not
have to maintain all this digitally. Fan clubs, people coming when the trailer is out, they're commenting on that
yeah.
so that they get. You must be seeing on the trailers the initial 100 comments they are manufactured. What do you feel?
Could be actually. I don't
Yes, yes.
really know, but I
That's
am
right.
not surprised if that really happened. So
That's
yeah.
right. Like I think one of some influencer made an interesting video on the whole business of kind of these fan clubs and all. But the thing is that in this context, like when we talk about the parasocial, is as an influencer's angle also he needs that. He needs those guys who are attracted to them for it could be for many reasons. So they have to also
Validation.
maintain that image and all that within and how to get into like when we talked about these messages they send like even a celeb level influencer he's sending messages um, to some of them who talk about them or they are spreading the message or they are major fans or brand advocates. That is also a strategy to go into that because they feel validated and then that relation kind of grows more. It is about that. Like for parasocial is kind of like even it's actually with a person. That's why you call parasocial. And brands kind of do that all the time, so that is there. But for the content, I'm sorry, the followers, my message is that don't like have to like give everybody space how much they deserve. Like if you're not getting back, like you shouldn't give so much to them. Like you have your own life. You have read about, I think Nandini must have seen some mad fans and all who are crazy in the house. They'll put up all the photos and like if you talk anything negative, like they will come and troll you and all those kind of level fans are also there.
No, I agree.
That's right.
There are.
So
As
they
long as it's
knows
not destroying your mental health, I feel it's fine.
that's right. That's right. So yeah, like don't follow so much. I think there should be just a reason to follow and like mindfully do these things. So that is our
Yeah,
message.
I agree.
Next question is the I think something that we are talking about the creators we should follow like certain creators, Elvish, and all these kind of creators, like should we follow or people who are ranting? So should be the ones should be. So what is your opinion? Like what is who should be? Because entertainment angle
Yeah.
we have to have, but there is also I think screening in that we should have.
No, I agree. I think this is a little subjective here, so I'm just going to talk about my take and what I generally do. So I
Mm,
feel there is like a three bucket. There are three buckets. One
mm,
is something that is central to probably everybody's life. For
mm,
example, health, wealth, which includes finance, and say other things that are really important. For example, time management, stress management, mental health, physical health. All of that comes in one. And then there's
mm,
second that is very central to a person's passion, a person's work, a person's, for example, if I'm into marketing, then I would follow few marketers that I really like, or some people in my industry who I really look up to. And the first category is about different influencers that create content which is relevant to my life, your life, everybody's life. And then third is solely for entertainment. So for example, I mean, for personally, I don't follow a lot of entertainment pages or a lot of entertainment influencers, because I feel that I go into like a role of looking at their
mm.
content all the time, and I tend to scroll a lot of reels and waste a lot of my
That's
time.
right.
So I don't follow in entertainment, but I consciously would like to follow a few of like health, say, influencers, a few of personal finance influencers, a few of say mental health influencers, and of course few that are very specific to my industry. So I think that's like a
That's right.
diversification for me.
So, like the bucket, are you saying that the first bucket is the domain that you work in, and second could be like in the health, fitness, wellness,
Like the
that kind of thing,
central things which are important in everydy's life.
and then last would be like an entertainment, and then so like your percentage obviously would be higher the domain, then apna health, fitness, and then this particular thing. Yeah. Also, hobbies are there and interest in
Yeah,
also
I
those.
see
Yeah.
it
So
as
these are the
a joy.
major buckets I would say that
Yeah.
we should kind of follow. I think the entertainment one, um, also there's an angle now where entertainment doesn't have to be like just put your brains out and then like kind of consume that. It can be like even if you see Nitish Rajput or Dhruv Rathi video, that is also information and entertainment form. So like say if you pay attention to the video for 10 minutes, you'll know about a particular topic of discussion, right?
Hmm.
Compared to 10 minutes of you seeing somebody's ASMR of eating a burger of food and all those kind of things. So those, yeah. So this is the choice we have to make. Like there is a process. I think Nandini, there was psychologists had also encouraged. They were having that your social media feed kind of just choose and not interested put it, and alter your feed so that you get better content than you serving
Yes.
out in your brain is like a garbage dump.
No, I agree. I think filtration is very important for our brains.
Hmm.
And I particularly am very, if I don't like something, I'll actually take the effort to go and
Hmm.
say not interested, or I don't want to see content like this. Because subconsciously, I think that really hits. So I don't
Hmm.
want anything that I don't
That's
want
right.
to be conscious.
That's right. Even what do you feel, Nandini, in terms of a phone, a youngster getting like a smartphone with complete access of Instagram? What age or something like? What do you feel how this should? Because it's an impressionable like you are maybe you're not knowing what you're doing. That's why there has to be certain parental guidance. So what do you feel on that?
I feel really old, first of all, to answer
That's
this.
that's
but
right.
I think now the generations have really changed. I mean, I am no one to say because I got my phone when I was in class 8th, probably, but I didn't have access to Instagram before class 12 because I was particularly not interested, and see
Hmm.
how times have changed. But I think it should be probably in the later school, or maybe later school only, that you get
Hmm.
access, because I think a lot of problems like insecurity, confidence issues, a lot of bodily issues are also happening because of too much social
Hmm.
media.
That's right.
So me
That's because
being,
like a 9-year-old is given the phone
yeah,
with complete access, with not like YouTube every, not like just YouTube Kids or Instagram for the young. I think there's some feature within
yeah, there
Insta
are,
also. So if it's openly given and there's no monitoring, it is damaging, because maybe you could have faced some of that. I thought obviously didn't face, because at that time, like at that time the phones used to get like, I think we touch screens and all we got like when we were out of college only. So uh, that is there. Definitely it's a different world, and you as a parent also or a well wisher of a kid, like you have to be aware of that, because it's a
yeah,
very impressionable age and you have the whole world in front of you, so it's
I agree.
kind of utilized. So obviously I think those checks and balances kind of should be there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next question is about a stardom or a star appeal. Like, how do you define that? Why I'm asking this, like in a marketing kind of content I'm creating, is because when you are paying a certain amount to an influencer or a celeb, this is, you have to kind of define this. It's even this term, like if for movie star, that is how much a producer pays him is also defined by that. How much audience he'll pull in. So how would you kind of define this?
Honestly, I feel the amount of time that people are investing in engaging with your content right now really defines stardom, for content creators at least. Because I feel that there is so much that nobody wants to just stop in the middle of it and say something, type something, because half the time we are just scrolling mindlessly. So
Hmm.
taking out the time, putting in something in the comments, liking, sharing, I feel means a lot. So I feel
Hmm.
more the engagement, more is, more are people involved with you, and I feel that is
Hmm.
really stardom. That means that you are actually creating some impact there. And I feel personally for me also, I am very stuck on, you know, creating impact in terms of supporting people with what I can do, maybe through my journey. So I have also been on a self journey like that for like a small time right now, and that's what really stardom was. I don't want to call it stardom because it
Yeah,
says a
that
lot celeb wale vibes, no? But I think that's what really is
that's
impactful.
it. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing, Nandini. You say where in the digital age where you can measure things, it's more with the engagement because you're competing with so much content. If you can
Yeah.
induce people to, like, follow, comment, how many people are coming on your live stream, how many people offline basis also are coming for your meetup, or what they are saying are the people going to that particular website of the brand. So that is the see. So this goes. It could be. It's just the attention that you're getting, right? Like it's that could be positive, negative. Even like in, I was hearing a kind of an interview of somebody who was working in WWE. So you will have like the hero and a villain there. So villain also they have to induce a response, right? People react. If somebody is not reacting only, so that wrestler is not a star per se, right? Because he's
Yeah.
not inducing anything. So
Yeah.
some response, even so that's what's happening with the negative content, so-called also ranting or abusive. Like they are end of the day, people are watching the whole thing. So
Yeah.
that is like a thing. But like as a brand, you won't want to this thing. But then to each his own, because we see all these kind of TikTokers going on and having influence and going to events and all that kind of thing also. So that's a very complex kind of issue in that.
No, I feel indifference is the worst, right? So
That's
yeah,
it.
I mean, if you're creating some difference, that should be positive.
That's right. You should aspire for that. Awesome. Um, Great. So Nandini, we'll cover. I think there's a few more are there. We'll cover them. So in terms of like when you're doing this, the authenticity when we were talked about with respect to the campaigns. Now, from the point of view of a content creator, you can tell me, and a marketer, because people can see through the things, right? Like these things have been done so much. You have a video, and in between you will have something about your content, some product placement, or you talking about it. So people can switch off from that. So then the money that is spent by the brand, it goes to waste. So how do you kind of, it goes seamlessly and it's authentic?
Yeah, I feel here we need to give a lot of respect to the kind of tonality that the influencer, the content creator has, because that is what has got that person that amount of followers, that amount of love. So I think we as marketers need to be very careful of how the content creator really talks. What is that thing that hits home with the followers of that person? So I feel keeping that tonality is really important in mind. For example, when we also do any brand collaborations, we need to be very careful in terms of, if this is really how our brand also resonates, if this is, true to the influencer or not, true to the content creator or not. Otherwise, the PG is not going to resonate, and there's going to be no, impact at all. There's going to be indifference and just like people skipping through. So I feel that is really important, that you have that checks and balance of, understanding if this is true to that content creator. And as a content creator also, you need to be very rigid, that you can't do, if you're talking more about that, you can't just shift perspective and talk about something exactly different. So it has to be among your realm that people can actually, believe you. So I feel that is really important in terms of achieving authenticity.
That's right. For the content creator, then what would you feel like when they are collaborating, like when you are actually making that piece, like what do you have to also pay attention in that, because your audience shouldn't get like away from you, like they shouldn't feel that it's always like forcing products on us.
No, I feel you need to be very selective and do not keep on doing ads because then nobody wants things to be sold to them all the time. They are
Hmm.
here because they followed you for a personal gain also. So if you're not able
Hmm.
to give that personal gain to them, if there's no knowledge, no nothing that you're giving, then why would anybody want to look at you? So eventually it will
Hmm.
lead to the unfollows for that content creator only. So they're going to
Hmm.
just lose on their followers, and that to loyal ones also eventually. So I feel
That's
being
right.
very selective in terms of the brands and also in terms
That's
of
right.
the
And
people.
Nandini, if you are selective, then you can put in more effort in the piece that you
Yeah,
are
it's
creating for
about
that brand.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that will have better this thing,
better
because if
impact.
they get good results from your, they
Yeah,
will come
I
back
agree.
to you only. So, and also the competitors or other people will kind of
Yeah,
highlight. So yeah, I mean that is their selective, but that's the thing, na. It's that's what I said, the Gary V long term vision. If you, and most of the people short term, they will think,
yeah.
because of things,
More
greed,
money, more
insecurity, looking at others, uh,
yeah,
their thing, and like, even I want to kind of achieve quick this thing, so they will then go for those brands who just, yeah, and it's like it'll appear like an old your content, and in between like a TV ad comes, that will appear. So that is the way I think, like,
yeah. I agree. Long term, I agree about with
yeah,
you.
like I had, I think, given one example in an earlier podcast of Shah Rukh. The way, if you see, compare him and the other major movie stars, the way they shoot for an ad, like the Shah Rukh always has that charm, which obviously there is a way of acting and doing it, where the brand, even there is a lot of effort in the content he is creating for that advertisement, right? It appears a collaborative effort, and like you feel like, even as a marketer, when you see the campaign, said he has really put in it to promote us. So that is
I sense
one guy to
you are
follow in that.
also. I sense you are also a Shah Rukh fan. Is it? I am also.
Yes, yes. The whole world is fan, because there's so much to like learn. There's never ending like learning from him, basically. Awesome. So next would be the part of our content where they say na that I'm not sure, like there was someone had coined a term called aesthetics, like in content, acing your domain and the
Yes.
aesthetics of your content.
Aesthetics.
So aesthetic. So it's like, what is the balance, what is required, where each of thing is not kind of given undue importance. So what I mean is that the style aspect is like, in terms of a content, is like a lot of your editing or production quality and that thing, and substance is actually the story that you are telling in a very structured way.
Yeah. I feel now is the age when everything looking good really matters much more than it used to before. Again, I feel that's due to a lot of content overload also. Now we've
Hmm.
become more selective because there's
That,
so much that is
and
available for
quickly, na, like, so if something aesthetically is not looking that great, you would swipe up.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that.
because there's so much content that you know that it's never going to stop, it's never ending, so you would
Hmm.
want to have that perfect thing of everything. So I feel it's a balance is really needed. I mean, Instagram started only as a platform where it was all about aesthetics and nice looking things and stuff because it was all
Hmm.
imagery. But I feel if you particularly ask me what am I more inclined towards, I mean, of course, I would any day strive for a balance between style and substance. But if you would say maybe more which I'm inclined towards would any day be still substance. For example, for anybody starting, also, I would say that don't care so much about the quality. I mean, of the video, of or using the best kind of equipment, of the best kind of editing. No, I mean, if you have substance, I feel that should also go a long way. So I feel along with style, substance, there needs to be that constant, posting that there needs to be that constant publish, hitting that publish button. So
Hmm.
I mean, but still, I'm more inclined towards having substance. I think I would rather look at something a little less pretty but more substantial rather than something that's only pretty but doesn't make any sense. I mean,
That's right.
there are different days, maybe and different moods for it, but I particularly would strive for a balance, yeah. But if you would ask me to be a little heavy on one side and compromise a bit on the other, I would say substance matters more to me.
That's right. I think here, if we like look at specifics, your short form content has to be heavy on style, because you it's like a hook. You people come in, and then
Yeah,
your long format, you have to, there has to be more like substance, because person, if he like a podcast, you're listening it for 2 hours and all, it has to have the substance. What all, like, what is there in a podcast? There's a few multi-camera angles. It is what you
yeah.
are saying only. And after end of the day, however good looking a person is, you cannot more than 10 minutes. There's no
Can't look
impact.
you can't look for 2 hours.
That's
Yeah,
right. So that substance, like even in a conversation, like people are having, a guy is having a girl, like the girl will go beyond, like, okay, he'll come to the, you can speak to him, but can he hold the conversation for an hour? So that is where the substance comes in. That is the,
that's a
but
top
style
skill.
will maybe get you in, but then to hold it, you need the substance.
No, yeah.
That's the Uh, awesome. This is an interesting question that came out, from one fellow marketer. So basically, a lot of companies, they don't have any kind of a budget to push their content to promote it. So, but obviously, everybody would like to distribute it best way, getting a good reach, at least in like a TG. So, what would your general strategy be for like free content you're putting? Like any, like you create a YouTube video for your brand or yourself only. Like, how do you? What is your general distribution plan?
Okay, I think organic has become very tough right now. I am not scaring anybody who's wanting to enter this, but just like a disclaimer that it has become really difficult now. If you say 2 years back, things used to get easily, like with 500 followers, you were getting 5,000 views, 6,000 views. But now, even with the 500 followers, getting like a 300 view on a reel is really difficult. So
Hmm.
I think for organic, I mean two very distinct things which I'm going to say, but one is definitely quality, and second is consistency. I mean both together, if you have, it's like a bomb. But having both of them together is really difficult because you can't always generate, quality things consistently. But I feel these are two really important things that keep you going and keep you growing. So I feel just putting in that effort every day to do something according to platforms, of course, be platform
Hmm.
friendly, understand what is the format of the platform, understand what the algorithm is really supporting these days, pick those patterns and kind of then grow. I think again topicals are something to ride on the waves and kind of, be a part of the conversation to get more eyes there.
Hmm.
I feel these are two, three things that are really important to grow organically. But I would like to say that I cannot, underestimate the power of inorganic reach here. Because I mean,
Hmm.
if you see, Instagram used to be a non-monetizing platform. It was just merely image sharing, community, and nice things here and there. But after COVID, when the world shut and it had got all digital, there were these small brands that started, bubbling on Instagram. There were smaller influencers, content creators. Then everybody suddenly started earning money on Instagram. And Instagram
Hmm.
at that point was very, laxed in terms of earning money. But later I started seeing that, everybody is earning money and it has become actually something which is, supporting so many livelihoods. Then why not charge money? So now
Hmm.
it has got very heavy in terms of inorganic. So I feel without inorganic, there is it's tougher. So I feel
Hmm.
inorganic really gives that small push which is needed with your good content organically.
That's right. Like, there's nothing like free only. Like, if even if you see organically, let's say one angle, obviously there are a few things in this. One is the algorithm. So it depends like how many are already following you, and earlier what
Yeah,
is your engagement accordingly. And
yeah,
then it is the distribution, like when you're putting it in certain groups, WhatsApp or any other social media groups, you have an emailing campaign, or somebody else reposts it who is kind of important or something, has an influence or something. So, or influencer, but again, then maybe are you paying them? And also, there are a lot of things within it. So, there's nothing free per se. But um, today, I feel an expectation, if any, like a CEO has from a marketer, when there is a very limited following, and unreasonable expectation in a views or engagement without any investment in
Yeah.
that paid push that is there, then
I
it's
don't
an
think that.
unrealistic expectation, and that is what a marketer has to be outright with
Yeah.
the top management. What is possible, what is what, because it's a lot of it is paid. You're pushing, however good your content in, it is also like a luck factor. But luck factor can be accepted when you're doing things personally. Like I'm putting out my own podcast, that is fine. But if I'm doing it, if somebody's paying me money, then I cannot say it's
Yeah.
a
You can't say that
luck.
it depends on luck. Yeah.
Because there's a responsibility. But that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's my point, that it is majorly paid, and you have to know that. That's why performance marketing has become so big over this thing, which is being used by all kind of media companies. Like media companies, when they're putting out content trailers and all, there's so much of a paid push also. So
Yeah. Of course there
all
is.
that is
There
there.
is. Yeah, there is.
100%. Awesome. So, lastly, Nandini, if you could talk about this process. So, basically, it's interesting process how a viewer of your content becomes your follower, and then a fan, and then a super fan. So, if you can kind of take us through that generally, okay, this is how it happens. Like, I'll give you an example. So, like, say on LinkedIn, you post something kind of interesting, it's getting a lot of like likes and comments, so then it goes to like a non-follower. So he sees one of your posts and he sees, okay, there's a lot of engagement, that's awesome, but it's still unlikely he will follow you in the first instance. So once he gets 2 3 content pieces like this, then maybe he'll think, okay, let me just follow so that I don't miss it out, because I'll be missing out on something because it looks really good. And then when he obviously he engages with the content, and maybe then there's a connection, whatever, then you'll say fan, super fun, those kind of things. So how do you feel this whole process should work, like, because you have a responsibility, maybe growing your social media page of your company as well.
I think one thing I started, since you mentioned about LinkedIn, I was
Hmm.
seeing one thing that now LinkedIn has started showing, for example, if I've liked one of your posts, it will start showing me different posts that you have done recently. And then
Hmm.
I can see a lot of your posts and then go into an entire role of looking at your posts and then deciding if, I really like this content, I would want to follow. I think that has
Hmm.
become something that's really making people follow more without even seeing repetitive content on different days. So I think that's one thing that LinkedIn is doing from its end. Other than that, I feel, how does a viewer become a loyal follower? I don't think it happens in one go. I mean, for LinkedIn also, I'm just like talking about one thing that is implemented right now on the platform. But I don't really think that it happens on one go, in one go, because now we are very selective also in terms of who we are following. Because there
Hmm.
are so many people, एक सबको एक ही content की वजह से अगर follow करने लगेंगे, then तो crazy हो जाएगी बहुत ज़्यादा हमारी
Hmm.
following.
Hmm.
So I feel it's more also about distribution and being
Hmm.
on a person's feed again and again and again. So I feel
That's it.
having a niche becomes really important. If you're talking
That's
about
it.
everything under the sun, then how many people are you going to reach again? So I
That's
feel
right.
here this becomes very important to have a niche. You won't know it in one go, you will understand it eventually on the journey, but I feel that's really important. And then I feel building distribution on that is really important. For example, again talking about how I started liking Tanmay, but all the more, way more, I had seen his content a little bit early, maybe sometimes on YouTube, his memes and all of that. But then I started seeing him everywhere in terms of these podcasts, or in terms of his lectures that he had given, for example, say at Masters Union, or say his production company, his Instagram. So on and off, he's like literally everywhere. So the
Hmm.
distribution that he's built, I started, recognizing him more. And I think more
Hmm.
familiarity builds more loyalty. So I
Hmm.
think that these are two things which I feel really helps. And of course, then
Yes.
that person remains if they connect with you.
That's right. Yeah, interesting thing you touched upon is like a content creator, when he is collabing with other people,
Hmm.
uh, basically all that content also you consume, where he went on other people's channels and all. So that is also a kind of a trick where, to grow your following, you should do a lot of the free collabs with same level of influencers or like somebody maybe in a similar TG of yours. So yeah, that is a kind of a interesting way, and it takes time. So basically, like when I talked about LinkedIn, I think that would be the same in many other channels on YouTube also. We don't like the first video we see, like we see the whole video. We are not like following it, but the algorithm is kind of serving it out to us. So
Yeah.
then we, and actually there's an interesting fact where many major channels also now they have a potential to double the following actually, because many people actually don't follow, they are just viewing. So
Yeah.
that is an interesting thing where people, I don't know, they are just, maybe they don't want to follow so many people, but they are
Yeah.
still an engaged. So there's where the views and watch time is kind of an important statistic, because
I agree.
basically like the platform knows you're viewing them, maybe you're not the follower, but maybe
Yeah.
you are viewing there or engaging with their content.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. So I think we can wrap up. I think it's a great session. We, so how did you like the Q and A's that were there from the
Oh,
followers
these
of
were
the
quite
podcast?
interesting, and it was not like something which is repetitively asked. So,
Hmm.
parasocial relationships and all, I think it's really interesting to even think about all of this, because a lot of this really goes unnoticed for us. But to bring up
Exactly.
these things to also generate awareness and to consciously, stay in a good condition in terms of all this is very important. Quite interesting questions, and they surely made me think.
That's right. Yeah, I think they were quite. I shortlisted some obviously, which were kind of will have some impact, like value in terms of marketing. Then it's just like a small opinion or a gossip. So awesome. So great, Nandini. So then just to wrap up, you're obviously working with Lenskart, like influencer wise, like you talked about obviously the brand, which I think you talked about Nika, right? The brand that one of the, that's right. So Lenskart, what do you feel their strategy, or like what do you feel going forward? Like what are you looking at and doing with this company going forward?
Okay. I feel, see, being such a
So
huge
this is
brand
social
now.
media wise, obviously, because your profile is in social media.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Honestly, I'm not. We have like very clear division in terms of influencer, in terms of distribution, in terms of social media, different channels. But I feel in
Hmm.
general, we started a lot with brand building. Then we've now also diverted into traffic and sales, of course, because that's what floats any organization's boat. But I feel a lot of it again is going to go into brand building in order to bring about that brand love, because now it's not just about sales or products or numbers. It's also about bringing that brand love and like just working on it to become more and more. Also, I feel now is the focus that it is becoming more international and it's becoming more global. So I feel that is also something that Lenskart is doing pretty well, and I think that's something that you guys will keep seeing in the future also. So yeah,
That's right.
these are the things.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Nandini. You took out time and you came again on this podcast and you contributed again. I think it's been a great contribution by you towards this session, and awesome. And I think you have been taking quite a few interactions, workshops, and sessions. So it definitely shows in this particular podcast as well that you are kind of experienced now in this domain.
Oh, I don't want to call myself experienced, but thank you, Nikhil, for having me again. I really appreciate your consistency and the curiosity that you have. I feel listening to somebody is not an easy thing, because you're always like you want to speak more than listen, but you do such a great job at listening, adding your points, and asking your really good questions, which really helps me also self reflect on a lot. So thank you so much for having me, and it's such a pleasure. I hope that both of us together could add value to everybody who's watching this. So yeah, thank you also for everybody who's watching this. It really means a lot to us.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you. That's very nice of you, Nandini. And awesome. We'll wrap up then. To the audience, please follow the MI podcast on all the major podcast networks. And also we are on YouTube. So we are on YouTube as Modern Intelligence. You can go and follow us, and many interesting episodes coming with a lot of interesting people like Nandini coming up on this. I've done quite a few also in-person podcasts along with these online ones. So please, you can go on my Spotify also and view all these sessions. Thanks a lot, then. Thanks all. See you. I'll
So,
take care. Yes.
bye.
See you.